Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. And I'm Shelley, and I'm here with Dorene Hyman. And Dorene is a practitioner of energy medicine who's been gathering information and techniques for discovering and supporting new ways to be in your life and your body for more than 30 years. She is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and a polarity practitioner who incorporates the Sandlin technique in her private practice. Her treatment approach involves sharing the issue, then finding a combination of needles, therapeutic touch, herbal medicine, restorative movement, and beneficial nutrition to each person's individual needs. She is a supervisor for student interns at the Pacific College of Health and Sciences, working at New York University Langone. Am I saying
That's
that
it.
right? Okay. And the VA hospital. In addition, she teaches Tai Chi and Qigong and is a certified personal trainer. We're talking like Doreen. Oh my gosh. Okay. Her work is deeply influenced by her personal journey to discover balance while working in the corporate world for 18 years as a video editor for NBC, while also raising two children in New York City. So, Doreen, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me today. And we're here because you are bringing a new offering to Springboard, which is Qigong in your PJs. Now, this isn't exactly a new offering for you, but it's going to be new to Springboard. So, I just wanted to ask you some questions around that.
Great.
How did Qigong in your PJs come about?
Well, I was involved in, thank you, by the way, for welcoming me. Thanks for watching. I'm so happy to be here and share a few moments with you. And Qigong in your PJs began, I guess I have to roll back just a shorter amount of time to teacher training. I was involved with Gary Strauss, Lynn Dennison. Shelley was one of the mentors, and just with an amazing group of people to examine my role as a teacher. I've been doing this for many years, yet we can always be better at what we do. And it was a chance to be in a community with like-minded people and see how could I change my ways. It's always good to revisit what you think you know. So I'm in this teacher training program, and we were doing live recordings on Facebook and dealing with technology and things that I've closed off in my life for a period of time. And when COVID hit and the shutdown and being locked in our homes occurred, it was really frustrating. I'm a teacher, I'm a practitioner. Suddenly, there's no interaction with the world. And it was a scary moment, too, of what's happening around us. And I thought, well, what do I do when I'm nervous about things? I breathe, I do Qigong, I exercise, I move. And I thought about the role of Qigong in my life and said, I know how to do Facebook. I know how to do live recordings. I'm going to take my teaching and just put it out there. Because if I'm feeling this, the rest of the world is feeling this. So it was a way to reach my patients and my students and uh, just friends, people across the country to just say, we're here, we're together, we're moving, we're not in one place, we're not sedentary. So I felt like here was the opportunity to take my teaching out more into the world, that this was instead an opportunity and a way to maybe alleviate some of the anxiety and stress that people were experiencing. So I thought, nobody's getting dressed. Just goofing around, what are we going to call it? It was like Qigong in your PJs. You didn't have to get dressed. And you want to wear loose clothes and comfortable clothes when you exercise, when you do Qigong, so your energy can flow. So it was a goof, and I love the name, and it's kind of stuck. So I've been doing this for the past year and a half. And the first year, it was just totally to share with the world this important practice in my life that has changed who I am and the connections that happened from it. I've received notes and emails from people who I don't know who have said, "You helped me through this time, you changed my life. This is so important to me," that I realized it was affecting people beyond what I ever had thought about, which was really cool. So I did it for more than a year and then started asking for donations and paid a portion of that forward to New York City food banks and people who were struggling through the pandemic, because that was the idea of how this was created, to support one another. So I love doing this, and I'm still, a lot of my teaching things have not come back. So this has become a center for me as a way of expressing and sharing with people what I do in the world.
Well, I have to say, I've done a few of your classes and I just love them so much. You're such, well, I love you. I mean, you are just all heart. And that's probably, for those of you who don't know Doreen, that's got to be obvious just from this few minutes of just listening to her. But that comes through in your teachings, as well as it's just you. The way that you approach this is like anybody can do this. At first I was like, Qigong, I'm not really familiar. I've done Tai Chi, I'm not familiar with Qigong. But, each time that I've done your classes, it's like a total, like I can like show up and I'm like all buzzy in my mind all over the place. And by the time it's done, it's like, wow, I feel so good. And it's like in like 30 minutes or less. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for those who don't know what Qigong is, you want to just give a quick explanation of
Oh,
it?
sure. Qigong is, wow, there's more than 1,000 different Qigong forms. And some of them are very martial arts in nature. Some of them are more medicinal, more supportive in nature. And that's really the aspect that I generally choose to do. But it connects the mind to work with the body and to work with your heart and spirit. And so I learned one of the Qigong forms I learned was 3 hearts become one. So your idea of how your mind works with your heart, which is considered your spirit in Chinese medicine, and then your lower belly where your physical being, your energy is stored. So it's a way of connecting within yourself to be aligned in the universe. And Qigong, actually, it's interesting. I've taken a very sort of, I've looked, what's interesting is teaching this class has made me much more verbal in a different way about how to approach it as a seasonal practice. And I've recognized both through teacher training and doing this regular class online that the seasons, the stars influence everything we do. So that's how I usually have developed my classes, around that idea of what is the energy, the element of the day that ties in with astrology, with Chinese astrology. And yeah, I've lost my train of thought.
But
Uh,
it feels really connected.
oh, good.
Classes feel really connected. Yeah. So it's
Exactly. Yeah,
so it's kind of an energetic modality.
it's a total energetic modality. In fact, doing Tai Chi and Qigong was probably my first connection with understanding energy. And that came about actually when I had my children. I was so happy in the world, yet I felt disconnected from myself. I felt like my brain and my body were not functioning. I was taking care of people, but I wasn't taking care of me. And so I began taking a class in Tai Chi to come back to me. And I was amazed how it opened up my life and philosophies and opportunities came from that. And through that and taking care of my children, I also began to look at food and understand food has energetics as well. So how do I bring that energy into our lives, into our health, into the kitchen? So these two aspects of lifestyle have become important drivers in how I approach the world and what I teach.
Hmm. 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 And still are, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It just seems to be growing and expanding in that way.
Very cool. So, what you teach. So what is your history of teaching, and at what point did you realize you were a teacher?
It was in my 20s. I was running a nonprofit edit facility. So it was before I got to NBC, but I had realized I love video as a medium. It was a way to express yourself. And this nonprofit facility worked with amazing artists and documentarians. And I was approached by Pratt Institute to teach a class on video production. So now I got to like share this with undergraduate and graduate students. How do you express yourself and how can you use this new medium? And in doing so, I began to realize I love teaching what I'm passionate about. Whatever is the center of my life, that's what I want to teach because that's where I am. So I noticed through the years when I started to try to get my life back in order and I had my children, I became a personal trainer and started teaching exercise because movement is important to me. I'm kind of a kinesthetic learner. So when I was teaching that, I worked for the city and taught different ages as well as a lot of seniors at that time. And that work evolved into my eventually going to study Chinese medicine. And while I was in school, I realized Qigong Tai Chi, I want to share this. So I'll be sharing Chinese medicine with this group, this community that I had set up in New York City. And it was a way, again, to express where I was, what I was learning, how I was growing. And when you teach, you clarify your thoughts on what you're teaching. So I feel like I'm constantly learning when I teach.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I'm online and I'm not seeing people, I know that I'm learning. And then get feedback, which is great. Feedback is always really good.
That's, yeah, I so relate to everything you just said. Yeah. That's very cool. So, so you have a lot of experience teaching now, and as you mentioned earlier, in the thing that we went through in COVID and the Gary's Polarity Teacher Training Program, I got to see some of your amazing classes, and you if none of you have ever taken a class with Dorene, you just need to, just for the experience. You're just such a brilliant teacher. You're just your heart comes through. You're so interesting. You make everything, every little piece of information juicy. So when you say that, like, this is like, whatever you're passionate about is what you like to teach. I mean, that's so clear in your offerings. It's so passionate. You make me passionate about things that I didn't even care about. So so there's yeah, in fact you and I have had some conversations like, when are you gonna do your food classes? So,
Well, funny that you say that, because I really would love to do more classes on food. I mean, food to me is such a rich subject because it's our history, it's our culture, it's about our communities, and it's about our health, it's about our habits. So we start looking at everything when we look at food. And it's interesting when I took these cooking classes and food classes at a school started by Anne Marie Colvin in New York. I began to understand the power of food as medicine, because whatever we put in our body on a daily basis is going to affect our health. So I started experimenting with my family. It changed our life. And then studying Chinese medicine taught me more about the energetics or fleshed out concepts that I began learning when I began taking these classes and raising my family. So I would like to share ideas. In fact, if this idea of food energetics has never occurred to you, you might want to look on Springboard, which we will talk about. There's a piece called Food Glorious Food, and it describes the characteristics of directionality, of where does food go in our body and what does it do to our energy, that you can kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to reach. There are specific characteristics about our foods and how you might combine them to help you achieve more, to help not only your health, but your goals in life, or just your communication with yourself and with others. So the idea of food is really exciting. So I'm really ready to do this. And then I've had thoughts also about the idea of seasonal practice. I mentioned that in Qigong, I do things according to the seasons. Food, it makes sense. Just think about it, guys. If we eat locally and we eat the foods that grow on the earth in the areas where we live, it's being nourished by Mother Earth. So wouldn't that necessarily nourish us? So I want people to start thinking about their foods in another way, if that interests them. It's such an interesting, exciting way to explore your life and your values. So the food thing, doing things seasonally. So I was on the subject of doing things seasonally. The idea of maybe putting together 4 different seasons. How do we nourish ourselves with our food, with our exercise, with our thought patterns, right? In winter, we go inwards. In summer, we're outwards. What's the energy of this season and how does it affect our lives? So that was another thought that I had that I'd love to put out there in the world. And then in this group dynamic that we have of Springboard, which we'll get to right after this, but it's evolved from teacher training. There's been a group of us, I started talking about doing a cooking class. This has just been on my mind, of wanting to cook something with people. The idea of sharing food on a certain level, even if it was a distance. I've done cooking classes in my house. And it's not that I'm this amazing cook. I'm a good cook. But I feel like I have a lot of information about food I want to share with people. So I was talking with one of the people in a meeting, just on a phone call actually, about the idea of food energetics and doing a cooking class. And we thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to have a series of guest cooks? And what's your favorite dish? Or who do you like to cook with? And it was just so much fun to start brainstorming about this. So I think there are endless possibilities about food in particular.
There are, and we're getting a little preview of some things that are going to be coming for sure. I love the idea of the seasonal food. And I also, before we talk about Springboard, I also want to say that your Food Glorious Food class was so good. I've been studying nutrition for years, and I got so much out of that class. It was, yeah. And is that an hour long?
It was a half hour. It was really packed solid.
Yeah, it was 30 minutes of like, oh, it's like information that you don't even know that you know, but then when it's put in the space, it's like, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect. I had so many aha moments during that class. It was so cool. So yeah, I personally, like, sign me up for your food classes and then just let me know when to show up whenever you get them on there, just so you know. So Springboard, we keep referring to that. Some people are going to be familiar with that, while others maybe not so much. So do you want to just say a little bit about Springboard and why you're choosing to start offering your amazing, generous teachings on Springboard?
So Springboard was an evolution of one of our modules in our teacher training program where, well, we're expressing our classes to ourselves. How do we put this out in the world? And we are so fortunate to have many talented people. And Sunil is not only a fabulous teacher in his own right, but an amazing IT person. So he came up with, I'll develop this platform. And at first it was the idea of a sandbox, a place for the teachers. And it has started to grow because if you want to teach, well, where do you teach? Now, I have to say, the world is opening up, and it's interesting. I did my first clinic shift, like instead of online recently, just yesterday at the school where I'm affiliated. And it was wonderful to touch people and bodies. I mean, I have been doing some of my practice, but to actually be teaching in person felt great. But the idea of teaching online, we can reach so many more people. We can be a global community. So Springboard has evolved from just this sandbox to let's be the sandbox, but let's see how else we can grow. Can we reach more people? And what's amazing to me is that Gary has offered his school, LEI, Life Energy Institute, as a support system to initialize this program. And so we're fumfering our way through this, but Springboard gives us this opportunity to then reach more people in a like-minded community that I am so excited about. And I get the opportunity to work with teachers like you, who I love and admire, to work with Gary, who has been a mentor for 10, 11 years already and has changed my life, my work with him, that I feel honored to be a part of this. And I'm hoping, I keep on envisioning it big, that it grows, that we start reaching more and more people. But when I first started doing Qigong in your PJs, I worked with a lot of older adults who were kind of freaked out by the technology and just said to me, I can't deal with Facebook and I don't do that. And I have other friends who actually are politically not in alignment with Facebook. And so they said, if you keep on posting on your own YouTube channel, that's cool, but I'm not going to watch you on Facebook. So the idea of being able to bring it to Springboard, I could now reach more and more people. So I realized just in my small group, it expanded horizons in doing this. So that was pretty exciting. And Springboard to me has this potential to just not only like-minded people, but all the teachers who have gone through the teacher training program. Here's a place for everyone to start saying, hey, I've got something to say. And finding a platform and getting emails out is real. It's tough as a teacher to do this individually. It's a lot of work on your own. So the idea of forming a community to share this with just is amazing to me. It's like my dream come true, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a public service too, because there's a lot of classes. Well, currently, all the classes that are up right now are free for anybody who wants to go
Absolutely.
and look at them. Um, and uh, and then there's probably going to be some paid options down the road. But it's like a community platform where people can come and learn about different things, and there's all different kinds of things on there. Um, but so wherever this video is being posted, we'll make sure that we put links to Dorene's classes on Springboard, and then you can review the whole site and look around and see if there's anything else that you'd like to check out on there. And
We're
so,
working on the website now. We're a work in progress, please understand, but it has amazing, it's already got a good solid base, and to me has amazing potential.
right, right, potential. What a great word, huh? Especially for these times. Yes.
It's what we need in these times. Where else can I go to feel centered and grounded and feel expansion when the world has been kind of small?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and I would also just like to say from my own personal experience with your, well, with you as a human, but with your classes, with your teachings, oh, I do have to say, like, one of the things that really is prevalent to me is that I you help me feel into my own potential, and that's such a great gift. Makes me kind of want to cry. Yes.
Well, because I feel like, be it my practice, in fact, teaching to me is like doing a session in so many ways. You want to open up the space for someone to have self discovery, for
Hmm.
self cultivation. That's what all aspects of my life is about. So, yeah, I really appreciate that.
No, I really appreciate you so much. So, I don't have any other questions in the moment. Do you have anything else that you want to share before we bring this to a close?
Um, no, not really. I, I want people to check this out. I think that there is really a different, more opportunities available. If you start checking in regularly, we're starting to populate the platform more. So it should be on your radar. And if you haven't worked with me at all, I'd love for you to check in classes. I have a moment where I honor another person who greatly, dearly influenced me, Virginia Sandlin. And it's a short 15-minute piece, not only paying homage to Virginia, but it's about tools for life, which really evolved. That idea evolved from teacher training. And I guess in some ways I want to even thank Gary and Lynn and all the amazing mentors that I worked with, because you helped me solidify and understand. I mean, I've always known that I'm a teacher, yet it was like, I'm a teacher. And I feel like through the program, I've grown, so my teaching has grown because I'm so much clearer on who I am, what my purpose is, and how much fun I have teaching and telling stories and sharing.
Hmm. And you mentioned tools for life, and that is kind of like the,
So I'm not totally married to it, but we were in a class once and Gary said, so what is it you want to do? What is it you want to teach? And I said, tools for life. It just sort of came out. So again, it's that idea of being in alignment with yourself. So any tool, any practice that you do regularly. So we have to eat, we have to move. These things start to change who we are in our lives and how we deal with issues. So the piece on Virginia, I actually love. It was designed for the program is about tools for life. It's about mentally, how do you deal with issues that come up and kind of jam you up?
Mhm.
How do you get through them? Plus, I get a chance, as I said, to honor Virginia, who has been another important influence in my life and still somehow talks to me and is. So, so yeah, I want you to check out that if you get a moment, and
Where
poke
can
around.
where can people find that?
That'll also be on Springboard.
Oh, that's also
So
word.
yeah,
Oh,
so
cool.
we had 3 things that we did for the class, and I posted them. One is actually about making broth and vegetable broth, which changed my cooking in my life. So I realized when I was doing this, it really is about what are the things that make me excited about living and being.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's contagious with you, Doreen. It
I hope
really is.
so.
Yeah, you make me more excited for sure.
I hope so.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right. So people can find you on Springboard. That information will be included with this. And then you also have a website too, right? If people want to
I
know.
do. It's
Yeah.
DoreneHyman.com. Um, and my email is using my same name. You can just, if you go to, it's, oh, by the way, check out the spelling. It's DoreneHyman. You can see it right down there.
Okay.
Because the spelling's important or you won't find me. But
I,
go to the website, poke around. I have a page on Facebook with past Qigong exercises. I leave the exercises up so that, and I'm hoping that we'll do the same kind of thing with Springboard, at least for a period of time. So if you can't make it at the scheduled moment, tune in when you can. It's the idea of, I don't want people to be locked in that way. I mean, I love it if you're there with us live, but don't hesitate to come and check it out when you've got the time and space in your life.
right. So your first Qigong in your PJs on Springboard, what is the date and time for that?
It is going to be October 1st. We're moving from Facebook to Springboard.
Woohoo! And what time?
And it's going to be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I know that's a little early for out on the West Coast, but I didn't want to change it from where we had been. Maybe eventually it'll move, but it has been 10 a.m. in New York time. So I didn't want to alter the time,
Yeah, that's 7 Pacific
right? It's, actually it's a good time to get up and do Qigong
in your PJs.
in your PJs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much, Doreen. I just always enjoy being with you, and I just appreciate you so much. So thank you for taking the time to just kind of let us know what opportunities we have to learn from you. And just for being in the world and sharing your amazingness so generously with such passion and such grace and such heart. Just adore you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelley. I
Thank
hope
you.
Thank you so much. This was fun,
Yes,
actually.
we'll do it
It
again.
was.
We'll do it again. Yeah.
Good. Good. Shelley has a piece coming up. Wait. I just want to say Shelley's got an intro class in astrology on September 25th, is it? Or the 23rd? Now I'm mixing the dates.
It's the 25th.
It's
Yeah.
the 25th. So you should be tuning in for this. Shelley, can you say anything about that?
The
You didn't
table
expect that.
turned. Yes. Thank you, Doreen. Yeah, it's just an intro. It's astrology for healing artists and anybody who is interested in astrology or any kind of natural therapeutics, natural healing. This class will give you some tools on how to support your vital life force based just on your sun sign. It's very astrology is a very heady thing, so I'm trying really hard to make it not so wordy, but I love giving out a ton of information. So, if you come and you're interested in any of those things, you'll get a ton of information. And if you do know astrology or in the healing arts, you can, apply what we cover in that class. So, thank you for bringing me into it. This is Doreen, people. She is so community minded. I am so happy and grateful that you are part of my tribe
Mm.
because, yeah, make it so much better. So,
All right, guys. So you just have to join us. We're open.
yes.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thank you so much. I love you. And thank you all for watching. All right.
Bye.